Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, where each week is a journey into love, oneness, and the human spirit. I'm Lisa LaRose, and I'm joined by the amazing Michael J. Russ. I want to say welcome, Michael. It's always so wonderful to be able to connect with you for this time.
I love it. We always have a good time, and hopefully our audience here on PRN-FM is joining us and going to enjoy another great episode about love in one way or another.
We have so many deep explorations, and sometimes they come in unexpected ways. I have a new book that I shared with Michael, and he and I are both reading it. I was guided to a chapter, and when I read it, I thought, hey, you know what, this is a pretty interesting concept. What do you think? And that's what I so love about you, Michael, because you're always ready to play, no matter what it is that I throw at you. It's always lots of fun.
I'm nimble. I'm on my toes and I'm nimble, moving back and forth, ready to catch whatever it is you throw at me.
Oh, well, I totally appreciate that. The words are really powerful. And I just wanted to read a quick excerpt from the book that inspired the show. The words are as follows. Believe that you can be my voice on earth. You won't be the first, and you certainly will not be the last, but you will be an important voice once you begin to understand the relevance of my words. You will become my voice not because of what you begin to say, but because of what you begin to feel. Once you begin to feel deeply and are able to emanate my light, once you are able to make people feel your energy, once you are able to get them to access their own light, it's not what you say, but the energy you put into the words that you are saying. It is the light that you put into what you say. It's the emotion that emanates from your words. And then it goes on to say, believe that you can be my voice on earth, not because of the level of importance this affords you, but because of the level of commitment it demands from you. And to be my voice on earth, you will always have to carry my voice inside of you, my voice, my energy, my light, and my inspiration. So it got me just sort of thinking, what if your voice held the power to create a world of love? One word at a time. And I know, Michael, you sometimes walk into a room and people hear you speak, and you feel the energy of the room change just by your voice. It elevates and it changes the frequency of a room. I know that I will say to some people that it's not the words you say, but how you say them. And so if you're saying, what's going on? Versus, hey, what's going on? It has a totally different energy. I kept thinking to myself, well, if we're these beings of love and we emanate love, how do we consciously speak from that place of love? A lot of what we create, and we know that we create our reality. And so if we're speaking things into reality, and our voice has an energy, it has a frequency, it has a vibration. So what we speak can be brought into reality. So why not love? I absolutely delightfully love Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief. I don't know if you know who he is, but he was a stem cell scientist who started recognizing that based on the beliefs, you could actually change the biology of a human cell. And what he recognized was that every single cell, all 50 trillion cells in the human body, work together. And that when our heart is pumping and we're breathing in, all of these tasks that go on, they're just sort of seamless. But what he discovered was that when we feel in love, our cells have that vibration of that love too. And he could actually see it in his laboratory, that as he was having people focus energy. And we know that the same is true for water. Both you and I admire Veda Austin and what she's doing with consciousness. And when she was working with the children, the autists, and she said, what is water? And they all said that it was love. So I think that if you've ever seen cymatics and how water will react to vibrations, that we do have that power to create something deep within us and emanate that. We all know how affirmations work, amplifying an energy behind words, making the spoken word more powerful. I think that if human beings are unique in that ability to speak reality into being, and how we sort of shape that perception creation. And so I really like this idea of being a conscious creator of my world and trying to always bring myself back to center and speak and emanate that feeling of love through my voice. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, I've been in the self-talk for a number of decades, and am a staunch believer, just like you, that we do create our reality. Words matter because they're frequency, because they go somewhere and they manifest. And nowadays, as the consciousness of this world changes and as the frequencies become more and more pronounced, people become more aware, the manifestation process is happening much more rapidly. And I've told this before, but I'm going to play golf tomorrow morning, so I'm very, very particular about how I refer to my game. I haven't played in 3 weeks. Shouldn't mean a difference, mean a thing. I could shoot my best round ever tomorrow morning without having played for 3 weeks, without having practiced, without having done anything. And that's because I approach it mentally by the way I speak about myself and my game, and the game I know I would like to see manifest. And so in applying that to life, it's really fun, quite frankly, to apply that to life. When you are going through life doing things, when you're speaking to people, when you're going about your day, when you're engaging with media and outside sources of information, we have to be very, very particular about how we refer to ourselves in that context, in relationship to what we're hearing, and how we're referring to ourselves and our life in receiving that information. This is where I find a lot of people get tripped up, is that you might be at home by yourself, speaking out about yourself in a positive way, what you have to do in a positive way. You also have to speak positively about yourself in relationship to the rest of your life. And you mentioned something which is really kind of cool. Speaking in the frequency of love is what I wrote down when you started talking about the concept of love, and love is light. And speaking in the frequency of love is what we're doing, what we yearn to do, what we should be doing. It's what we should remember that we are capable of doing, right? We come from love. We in the non-physical world, we speak in the frequency of love. We are love. There's no judgment, no shame. There's no nothing. It's all love. And evidently, because I've never had a near-death experience, it is supposed to be a depth of love that we here could never possibly imagine. I'm attempting to wrap my mind around that when somebody says, hey, and what you're experiencing here is an infinitesimal percentage of what the feeling of love really is. And I'm going like, wow, that just blow you away. How could you even come close to that here without sequestering yourself and meditating for hours on end to connect with Source and to elevate yourself to the point where you could feel just an inkling more of what you would have otherwise if you hadn't gone through all that, right? And not even come close to what it is that you would that experiencing the love that you feel as a non-physical being in that realm. So every day I'm kind of like I'm doing my best and to be that light when I'm by myself, when I'm with my girlfriend, when we're out and about, when I'm playing golf, when I'm engaged in anything. I'm out buying something at the store. On my mind, front and center, is how do I speak in the frequency of love? Am I speaking in the frequency of love? What would that be? I'm so cognizant of it that when I'm seeing people, I see myself as a person who spreads light in people's lives and in the place I'm in. And you're right about one thing. Yeah, when you have a presence, and anyone has a highly energetic presence when they're full of self-love, confidence, and knowing that they're part of a greater thing, that you're not just here to go up and go to work every morning and come home and go to the store and buy this or buy that, or just trudge through life. That's not why you're here. When you have an understanding and a knowing that everyone plays a part in everybody else's life, there's not one person that you've met in your lifetime that you maybe haven't come in contact with in some other lifetime, that you haven't brushed shoulders with or whatever, that you have a greater good to do here. It really lights you up. It actually compounds the light that you have. And so I really enjoy that. It's a conscious thing for me. Speaking in the frequency of love is a conscious thing that I do, that I practice on a daily basis, that I actually engage myself in doing. And I spend most of my time at home. So going out and either going to the store or going to the car wash or going whatever, I'm saying hi to people. I'm sharing that light, sharing that love, if only for a moment. I don't care who it is. It's so much fun. When you do that, it's pretty amazing what people do, the things they'll tell you, the things they'll share with you.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's fun to be that ray of sunshine in people's lives. Now, I know you like to do it too, and I know that your life is probably a little more complicated than mine right now in terms of a lot of things. You've got your hands in a lot of different bowls throughout the day, but I know when I call you, you're always full of light. Even if
thank you.
Something's happened, you're full of light and you're processing it. And this is even the more important part of this. You process events from the perspective of love. You got to process it. And we can get involved in the drama of things that go on. However, we have to really continually be conscious of the fact that we have to interject, we have to bring love into the picture. And we have to, it has to be the driving foundational force behind our actions and responses. Things change when that happens, right?
I completely agree. I did 2 events this weekend back to back, which is unusual for me because it was a lot of interaction and connecting with individuals. Yeah, but you know what, Michael? It was so delightful. I met some of the most amazing people and had wonderful conversations, and I recognize that I like being out in the community and interacting. So I did the event on Saturday, got back very late in the evening, and then had to be out the door at 8 o'clock in the morning to be ready for the next event. And when I walked in, I ran into this woman that I haven't seen in a while, and she said, "Oh my goodness, look at you. You're just glowing. You're glowing with light." And I think that it was what was fueled from the day before, that I really had my soul fed with all of the connections and just a wonderful plethora of complete strangers who I had wonderful interactions with, very delightful. And, I think about when you have different speed bumps in your day, which I've had a few this week already, but I go back oftentimes and you always remind me about what is this here to teach me? What is it bringing forth? I look at the energy of everything, including words. And Michael Beckwith, who I adore as a speaker, he always would say, you cannot rise above your frequency. So if I want a life filled with love, I cannot be coming from a place of anger or frustration or hate. I have to bring myself back. Words are so powerful. They carry such a strong vibration that when they're sourced from love, they elevate not only me, but everybody around me. And if that's what I really loved about that idea of being able to be a voice for love, a voice of love, speaking from love. And one of my favorite authors, I remember finding his book, I think it was in just a paperback years ago, was Leo Buscaglia, who wrote a book, and that was the only word on the front cover was love. And I wanted to know more about him. And I heard him speak one time, and he said, people are going to come and they're going to sit here for an hour and they're going to listen to me speak, and they're going to go home and somebody's going to say, what did he talk about? Love, 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 and more love. And he said, and that's wonderful. He said they're not going to remember the little things, but they're going to remember the love. And I think that's just such a powerful place to vibrate from. That's our first act of creation, that love. What can we change? What can we change? I think that it really does speak volumes, that when we speak about love, we're not just using words, but this higher frequency, we're literally emanating and becoming these vibrational, wonderful tools of creating more love in this world. Exactly what it is. So I guess the thing is, how do we consciously choose love in our daily speech? Because oftentimes, there's challenges that come about. And how do we commit to that new way of speaking? To consciously practice it, how do we bring ourselves back to that? Louise Hay, as I mentioned before, she did affirmation, because every thought becomes a thing. So I think sometimes, for me at least, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you do, is I literally take a pause. And sometimes it's a few deep breaths. And before I speak, I pause and I have to just ask myself, is this coming from a place of love? Or where is this coming from? Because like you, language and the choice of words is such a powerful tool in my life. And it can build bridges or it can knock them down. And oftentimes when you're in conflict with an individual, if you take that moment and take those couple breaths and just breathe in and focus on speaking with love and the other person receiving whatever you're saying with love, there's no reason that there needs to be a raised voice or harsh words. It all has to do with loving intention, no matter how big or how small. Do you have a practice that you like to do when you're reminding yourself to pivot?
Yeah, it's interesting. At this particular point, it's kind of second nature for me to not get to a position where I'm arguing or yelling with people. And it's easy to do, by the way, for all of us when we're in a situation where we know that, maybe a situation we're right and about something, and the other person just isn't getting it. So you have to step back, and you have to realize at that particular point that the duality doesn't really exist. There is no right, there is no wrong. There's just another way, right? There's just different ways of doing things. Just because somebody is doing something one way, the way they know, doesn't mean that that's not the only way that something can be done. Your way may be a different way because you came from a different way, you have a different place, you have a different experience in life, different experiential wisdom. The thing I always remember, though, is diplomacy. Love falls right into it. And I tell people one thing. You can say absolutely anything, and I do mean anything to someone, as long as you are loving, empathetic, compassionate, and kind. Anything, right? I use that when I told my first wife that I wanted to leave. I wanted a divorce. I wanted to go. There was something else I needed to do. I didn't yell about it. I didn't attempt to put her down or put her in a place that was beneath me. I attempted to elevate her and carry on the conversation with, the fact that she's in a good place. She's come really far from where she was 15 years earlier, and I've had I was blessed to be able to be part of her life and part of the relationship and part of her journey. And you can, you have to understand one thing. You can say whatever you need to say with love, compassion, empathy. However, you have no control over the response or what somebody else will say, or how somebody else will respond to what you say. And you have to not get caught up in that. You have to stay in a place of love. Stay in that place of love, regardless of what comes at you. It could be a bazooka that comes at you, but you have to stay in a place of love. And I tell people this because they don't teach diplomacy when you're in school.
Sure.
right? They teach. Okay, just say I'm sorry, and you're like, what am I saying I'm sorry for, right? The thing is that if both people could be taught to come from a place of love, empathy, compassion, and kindness, and just understand that they're coming from a different place, a different space in their own thinking, a different journey, okay, and a different form of wisdom, okay, a different experiential wisdom, then you can kind of come together and reach some sort of common ground, that common ground being love. It's always the common ground. Love is always really have to seek to come to. And so, yeah, I might take a breath here or there. It's just kind of I'm forever cognizant of the fact that I am not really able to control what someone else thinks and what someone else does. And we so badly want to do that. We so badly want to make other people better than they are, or we want them to be like we are, or we want them to change in some way. It's just not going to happen. All we can do is perhaps, as somebody brilliant said, influence. We can be influence. We can be an influence on them by actually resonating that light, that empathy, that love and compassion ourselves. We can show them what it's like to be different than they are, to step it up, right? To live from a higher frequency. We can demonstrate that, not tell it, because we don't want to be telling people. It's just demonstrating it. And that's really what I seek to do more than anything else.
I think you do that very well. And I have not read the book, but it's come up from two different people, so I know there's a message in it. And it's a book by Mel Robbins called Let Them Be. And I think that's exactly what you do, Michael. You come from a place of love, and you're conscious about your words, and you're consistent in the fact that you're rooted in your heart. And then you speak from your heart, and then you allow them to just be. Let them be. You do. You allow, no matter what is coming back at you, you just take a deep breath. And if you remember, I'm guessing you did read Leo Buscaglia's book, Love, because he said love is a verb, not a noun. Do you remember him talking about that?
I did. I've seen him speak, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what he said. He said language must be rooted in action and authenticity. And so that's what you're doing. When you're holding that space, you're being honest, you're speaking from the heart. Nobody can ever fault you for being honest and open-hearted. I may not always, and I say this all the time, somebody may not like the words that I say, but it's okay. Because I'm being honest and I'm coming from the heart. I'm not trying to sugarcoat. And I will always, like you, I will always come from a place of kindness and compassion and love. And I have to understand that there may be triggers, but I just have to bring myself back and ask myself, am I being a voice for love in this moment? And most often I can answer that as yes. I can answer that as yes, because that's where I try to anchor myself into. And I think as you do that and you cultivate those practices like you do, it becomes second nature, as you said. It's effortless. You don't really think about it, but sometimes you do have to remind yourself. I was in a situation yesterday, and it kept me up most of the night. But when I made the phone call that I made this morning, that I had to make to this individual, I just said, first of all, let me just say how much I appreciate everything you do. And then the conversation took off from there, and I kept bringing it back. And when I ended the conversation, I said, again, I want to thank you for everything you do. What you do is of value and very much appreciated. However, there were some challenges that should really be addressed.
Exactly.
And for me, that felt good.
To stop you, but what you did there was that you in the conversation, and this is something that, again, nobody teaches this to you. It's like, wow, where would you learn this? When you have a situation that occurs, right? And I've had people, literally, I had a guy rear into me, because I was making a right turn and he came behind me. I had to stop because something else happened, and he ran right into me with his truck, and trucks make a lot of damage.
Wow.
This wasn't recent. This was about 12 years ago, and it was interesting because he was expecting me to react wildly, just come at him with everything I had, bazookas in hand, guns, knives, the whole 9 yards. I said, because that's what you expect. Oh gosh, this guy's gonna be so ticked off at me because I did this, and I'm like completely the opposite. I said, okay, it's all right. I recognize what happens. This happens all the time. Let's just call the police, get a police report, share insurance information, and we'll move on. And I'll get a tow truck. And that really is it. And the second time it happened, I just stepped out the car, and I was calming the woman who was freaked out, who ran into me at 5 miles an hour, right?
Oh,
and
yeah,
I was calming her, and she looked at me, she goes, why are you so calm? And I said, because these things happen, and because I know you didn't do it on purpose. So the reason why you did it or how it happened isn't really important. We're already here. In this moment, it's best for us to just, again, call a cop and get, go through this process of things that you would do. And she said, wow, I can't believe this. My husband's going to be more upset at me than you are. And I said, well, that may be the case. I don't know. I can't tell you because I don't know your husband. However, I'm sure he'll be happy that you and your kids, because she had some kids in the back seat, and I didn't want to be a bad example for them as well, because I noticed she had kids in the back seat. And I said, "Are your kids okay?" She said, "Yeah, I'm sure they're fine." And I said, "Excellent." So I just want you to know that everything's okay, and there's a process for taking care of this, and we could just go through the motions and take care of it, and you can go on your way and be where you need to be, and so can I. And funny thing is, I called her back about 3 weeks later because I had her phone number. And I called her back 3 weeks later, and I said, how are you doing? And she said, what? I said, this is the guy you ran into, Russ. I said, I just want to know how things are going for you. And she said, oh, they're fine. Gosh, dang, you're calling me to ask me how I'm doing? And I said, yeah, I just want to know. And she says, I'm doing fine. And I said, excellent, fine. Glad to hear that. That's all I wanted to know. And I'll wish you a good day and hang up, right? So
that's fantastic.
The interesting thing is that literally in life we come across on a daily basis. Our coffee isn't made right? And we're in a hurry, and we want the coffee the way we want it, right? We've all gone into this cafe. We come here all the time. You go in that coffee shop all the time, and there's somebody new, and they messed up your coffee. They didn't do it right. They're in training, whatever it may be. And instead of blowing up at the whole place and designing a bad review in your mind, why not simply recognize that those kinds of things do happen? Nothing was done on purpose. They don't know you, so they don't have any ill will towards you. They don't even know who you are. It's just somebody did the order incorrectly. So yeah, you're in a hurry. However, if you go to them with kindness and do what you just did there and say, I really appreciate what you do. I know you're really busy. However, I just wanted to let you know that this coffee has got this in it. It needs to be decaf, not caffeinated. And I just want to make sure of that because I have to make sure that my girlfriend doesn't drink caffeinated coffee. She can't have caffeine. And they go, oh, I'm sorry about that. Fine. And they turn around and they make it. They put me ahead of the line and they make her coffee. And I stand back for another couple of minutes and boom, we're out of there. And I say, thank you very much. I so much appreciate. And we'll be back. And these things happen all the time. My process really is to just always do what you just did, which is let people know that you're up front, that you're coming from a place of loving kindness. That's the thing. And whether you're writing a letter or whether you're writing an email to somebody because you got the wrong this or this was broken when you got it or that happened, right?
Right. You're absolutely right, Michael. So often when there's a problem, as you said, with your coffee or something else that's made for you, oftentimes we'll take it personally. We feel that we're being misunderstood or that we're not being heard. And instead, if we see it as an invitation to reclaim our power by speaking from love, not only we elevate our own experience, but we also ripple that into the world around us. And that's what this conversation is all about. It's really an exploration about how our words and intentions and how we consciously choose to speak from that place can elevate our own personal vibration and contribute to a more unified world. I don't take any ice in anything that I drink. And so when I order, I always am very conscious of asking for my drink to be made with no ice. But sometimes people are in the habit of putting ice in every drink that they make. And so it's just an unconscious action. Nobody does it intentionally. So if I get a drink that has ice in it, I will just say, "Excuse me, do you have a spoon so I can scoop out the ice?" And sometimes they'll say, "Oh, no, I'll remake it." I said, that's not a problem. You don't need to remake it. If I can just have a spoon to scoop out the ice, that's usually all that I need. And I think that our words are sort of like seeds, and the energy we put into them determines what we grow in our lives and in the world around us. And really becoming a conscious gardener of our own reality. And as you said, our words matter more than we think, and how we harness them is our true power. So why not speak from a place of love?
Right, right. And I know I want to be able to feel really good about what I do. So we had, give you one more quick example. My girlfriend ordered 4 new bar stools for the counter. Putting together these bar stools, and out of 4 bar stools, I'm putting them together, and one of them, this place where a screw was supposed to go in, broke off. Can't put that seat together. And on the other one, on one of the other bar stools, it wasn't there at all. That thing that screw was supposed to go into to hold the thing, in place on one of the legs, it wasn't there at all. It's a mistake, right? It didn't happen.
Right.
So I'm sitting there going, I've got 2 of these chairs. These things are heavy as all get out. And I'm like, I got to box these things back up again? So it's basically, instead of Sandy calling, she doesn't like to call because she knows I'm the diplomat. And I called, and I got somebody on the line. I said, I just have a little issue. I love your chairs. They're fantastic. I think they're wonderful. I've got 2 of them together, but 2 of them I can't put together. And she says, "Oh," I said, "Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. I'd like to figure out how we can get 2 chairs." And she tells me the procedure and the process. It's fine. Just take care of it. And I rebox them up, put them aside. They give us labels. We give them back to the truck. New ones are ordered. They come in a week later, and you put it back together again, and it's fine. And, our time is not so precious that we can't be approaching life from a perspective of love. And that's really the bottom line. There's nothing.
Exactly.
We're not going at light speed, like an F1 driver, and we're not that. I mean, life is moving by quickly. Days seem to be flying by. However, it's not going so fast that we have to make someone else feel bad for something that occurred. Very rarely that you and I have to deal with something where somebody's doing something nefarious or malicious on purpose. That's not our life. Nobody really intends to do that. But things just happen. Somebody, they lose it for a moment. They might be focused on something else when they should be focused on doing something for you, and a mistake is made. And I'll tell you what I really enjoy, and it's the last thing I'll say about it. I really enjoy writing an email or a letter to right a wrong, right an inconsistency. I love that. I love it because I praise the heck out of them, and because I know that, hey, it was a mistake somebody made along the line, but it wasn't something that the person I'm writing to actually did. And it's not for me to call customer service and rake them over the coals. That person's probably somewhere in their house or at a call center or somewhere else, and they have people beating them up all day long. People beating on them. I didn't get my thing on time, blah, blah, blah. When you're coming from a place of love and compassion, it just makes things so much easier. And generally, you always get better than what you thought when you treat a situation with loving kindness. And I'll be in a restaurant, same thing happens. How many times in a restaurant there's something coming, it's not right. Your order's not right, or they left something out, or they didn't put something in, or whatever it might be. And they're the messenger, right? Love the messenger. Love on the messenger. All the time you can, love on that messenger, right?
Yep. And I think, Michael, that's what being a voice of love in the world is all about. You honor other people as a soul, as a sovereign being. You give them the dignity through your tone and your presence and what you're saying to them. It's compassion as you had for the individual in the car accident. So wherever there's conflict, it's the kindness in every little interaction that you have, whether it's with coffee, somebody who makes coffee for you, or somebody in the car wash or in line or in traffic. You can take your turn, and it's coming from a place of love. And I think by consciously embodying that love in not only our thoughts and deeds, but in how we speak, that's how we contribute to this unity consciousness we're all striving for here on earth, peace on earth.
Yeah.
And I believe that's how the collective begins to heal. One voice, one choice, and then it ripples out, this ripple of love, each one of us, one at a time, until that frequency is so elevated that everybody is going to entrain and harmonize, start to harmonize with others. And I believe when we speak, that vibration that our voice carries, you can speak with love. And as you said, it can calm. That your voice vibration calmed that woman. She was so upset, and it gave her comfort, and it gave her children something to bear witness to, that this is how you handle a situation, because I'm sure that they were upset and nervous. But it gave them, even though you didn't consciously think about that at the time, you were really creating something that they could anchor into. And I think that when we go beyond, like you weren't in a place of ego, like, what did you do to my car? You're moving into a state of yeah. No, I completely agree. It's just stuff. And every little act of love like that, as we speak or we act from that place, we're creating this ripple effect that we talk about. And we're going to be in that place that Sarah Landon sees us in 10 years and Donna Bell sees us in 10 years. Consciousness creating a reality. And becoming that voice of love is a big part of it.
Let's not forget about something. Your perceptions play into this in a very, very big way. If you're perceiving something as being the end of the world for you that day, or whatever, it's going to filter down to your inner conversation. It's going to filter down to the words that you use verbally. It's going to filter down to the way you feel. And my first task always is to perceive everything in a positive way or a neutral way, and not a negative way, right? Because I know I want to be able to feel really good about what I do. And that happens automatically when I perceptually see something as not being problematic, not being hard or tough or impossible, and all those other words we like to use around the actions that we need to take to go from point A to point B, right? Or live our life. But really what came to mind when you were talking is my goal. I'm a pragmatist. So on this show I always come from being a pragmatist, a realist. Like, how do you actually use this, apply this, like right here, right now? We talk about love, and love is not some nebulous thing. It really is a concrete feeling, and it leads to concrete situations and circumstances. It does. It manifests itself in physical form from a perspective of what comes back at you. That's really it. It's what comes back at you. You get what you give. And if you're giving love, you'll get it back. And it'll come back sometimes tangible, sometimes intangible, but it'll come back to you. And the key is here for me always on the show is to talk about how do you live from love every single day with all these little things that are happening to you. And that's really it, right? I see parents too, parents that just lash out at their kids for something that they're doing because the parent is maybe has reached the top. They're frustrated, they've reached 100% frustration. And instead of coming at the situation that's going on from a perspective of love and kindness and empathy, remembering that what they say, the words they say, have a lot of power and a lot of and a high degree of ability to impression, right? You can explode, and I think we all have to realize that we can come at anything by taking a breath, like you were talking about, taking a couple of breaths, and quick breaths, and then stopping what we're doing and create some focus, and the intention there being to come at whatever's happening from love, de-escalate the whole feelings, the whole frustration, and come at it from love, just right away. It's perceiving it, of course, that it's not a bad thing that they're doing what they're doing. It's not a bad thing. It just happens to be bad because your perception, because you're doing something else, and they're getting in the way, right, of what you're doing. And this happens when you're a parent. And bottom line, we have to step back and perceive it as a good thing, whatever it is, because they're a child. They're learning. They're curious. They're asking why a million times because they don't know why, right? So it's just, I see these things when I'm out and about, and I don't really say anything. I just simply stand there and bring some light to the situation in a way, right? That's all you can really do is put light consciousness out. And this is what we're talking about. When we talk about Pam Gregory, we talk about Sarah Landon and Sarah, the other Sarah we're talking about, that the angel lady, Sarah Hall, and Bashar and Kelly, the gal who actually channels Angel Raphael, and that's a really cool thing to see if nobody's ever seen that. It's such a different situation in terms of channeling. There's so much love, so much depth of love to what is said in the conversations that are received from Archangel Raphael. But the bottom line here is that people, we have a choice every day, and we can get up in the morning and approach our day from love as the foundation of all of our thoughts, actions, and responses, or we can do otherwise. And when we consciously put love at the top of the list, that's when things change. That's when we change as individuals. And what we're really talking about here is contributing to the recipe of a consciousness that comes from love and is built on love and connection and kindness and compassion and empathy, all the higher frequencies. This is what everybody keeps talking about. These are going to change. Consciousness is changing. Right. Well, we have to feed it. We have to feed it every single day. Instead of feeding it negative words, negative energies, we have to feed the consciousness positivity, love, kindness, empathy, and compassion, and love most of all. And we have to love ourselves. By loving ourselves, we automatically feed the consciousness. We have to love ourselves. And self-care is a word I've heard about 50 times this last week. Literally.
Isn't that interesting? Yep.
It is. I'm telling you, my sister's writing a book on self-care. I've got those things, self-care. No, this is self-care. Everybody's talking self-care. I've heard it on TV from various pundits at least a dozen times, and from other people, and I've read it. And I'm going, what is this thing with self-care? It's the new word that is really self-love. It's treating yourself with love, respect, and kindness and dignity. Right? That's what you're doing. You're giving to yourself. You're treating yourself to the love that you've always deserved in every possible way. Whether that's taking and it's different things to different people. There's a million different things you can do to engage in self-care and self-love. And instead of shame and judgment about yourself, that you're less than, or that you should have been better, you should have done that differently, blah, blah, blah. It's like saying, hey, I'm awesome. I'm great. I know I can do this, and if it didn't happen the first time, I know it'll happen the second or the third or the fourth. I know that I'm getting this. I'm making it's talking positively about yourself, number one. Right? We talked about self-talk in our conversation. It's talking positively about yourself in relationship to everything that you're doing in life, and treating yourself with loving kindness and compassion and empathy. It's forgiving yourself. Ho'oponopono. It's forgiving yourself when you have a thought that is judgmental or shameful. You should immediately forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for whatever happened. Forgive yourself for your part in it that made you have that thought or speak of yourself in that way. and then let it go, right?
Right.
Forgive yourself and be grateful that you had the experience that led to that, because by having that experience, you now have the opportunity to let shame and judgment go by forgiving yourself for what happened, right? It's not a bad thing. Things happen for you, not to you. So when, as you were talking earlier at the beginning of the show, you had mentioned about people being, I didn't write it down necessarily because I wanted to, but when you're talking about things happening for you and to you, you have the ability to, when things occur, ask yourself that question: why did I choose this experience for myself? What perceptions do I have about myself and my life that led to this experience? Because the perceptions always lead to how you experience something, right? That's the way it goes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Michael. And I think that what you're speaking about is why the energy of love matters more than the words that we speak. That people feel that vibration before they can even process your words. So if you're coming in with that harsh energy versus an open heart, that open heart feeling and that love is going to sort of be your calling card. It's going to draw people towards you, closer to you. It's going to open hearts and create that resonance. And so that's part of what the self-love is. The I'm worthy of love, I speak from love. I mean, those are two wonderful mirrored affirmations that you could practice daily. And it makes a big, big difference when you're coming from that place. And it can really, so I'm glad that you brought up self-love, because in order to be a voice of love or speak from love, you have to start small and commit to it from within. It's really very, very powerful. And that's how things change collectively and also to make a big, big difference on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so true. It's making this tangible, usable, applicable for everyday life, and making, when you make love the foundation of your thoughts, your words, your actions, and you make it the foundation of your feelings, it changes. It should change you, and when it changes you, it elevates your light. And when in elevating your light, you're right, everybody can sense it, and that's why the woman who came to you at the event this weekend said what she said. Wow, you're glowing.
It was so sweet.
Cool. I had a guy. I told you this earlier, but I'm at the Austin airport waiting for a plane, and a guy came by. He said I had no more than about a 2-minute connection with this guy. I don't even know what his name was because we never got that far, and but he on his way, when he was leaving, he was getting out of his stool at the bar, and he said, "Man, you got a lot of light."
That's beautiful.
Said, thank you. He walked away. So, you're going to get validation from unexpected places when you live and breathe love and light. And that's how you approach your connections with people, your relationship with yourself. You're going to get validation. And when you do, say thank you very much, because you're on the right track. And this is really it. It's like a ping pong. When you're playing ping pong with yourself, you've got that, the right. You're hitting up against the wall with the ping pong board, and you're at the paddle.
I was never that skilled at that, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going to come back?
I wish I was good with a ping pong ball, but I think you lived in Taiwan where they were really skilled, right?
Well, let's do that. That's true. But we had a ping pong table when I was growing up. But I mean, the same thing happens if you're hitting a tennis ball up against the wall with a racket. You're hitting up against the wall, and you're playing by yourself, attempting to actually respond to your own actions, right?
That's a great analogy. I love that. Yep.
Yeah, you're hitting a ball up against the wall, and it's going to ricochet back to you. It's going to come right back to you, and if you hit it the right way the first time, it'll come back, and it'll become easier and easier and easier. And we have to really, when it comes to love, we have to start small and keep building. Start small and keep building.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
no, I totally love that. I totally love that. And I think it goes back to the why question for me, because that for me, that's my ping pong ball, because I've been doing that a lot. Like, why is it so easy? And so I guess that's one of the questions I can frame. Why is it so easy for me to infuse love in everything I do?
Right.
And
why is it so easy?
Why? And that I've been doing the why a lot as of late.
Me too.
And
a lot.
Yeah, so that, and I do. So I'm now going to think about myself with the paddle. So what if that's the most powerful thing that we could do? We can achieve that. We're creating that energetic frequency. We're creating that field of vibration between everything we speak. And so if I've got my ping pong ball and I'm just bouncing against the wall, love, 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 like Biscaglia was talking about. So if somebody meets you and they don't really remember what you said, like you said, you never got that introduction, but what that gentleman gave to you was a loving affirmation about what he saw in you as a human being. And I think that, it is. And human beings have that innate ability to speak those things into being. So he's, as you said, he's validating what he sees, and he's infusing the words that, even though he may not consciously have recognized it, you received it as love, and it elevated both of your frequencies. And I'm sure when he walked away from you, he thought, probably what happened in the next phase, he met somebody on the plane and said, I met the nicest man. I had the nicest exchange. He had so much light. Or he sat down with his wife. And that exchange ripples out. And that's really what this whole conversation about exploring being the voice of love is all about. That love, the oneness, the human spirit in everything that we do, in all of the heartfelt connections, whether we recognize it or not. You had a heartfelt connection with that gentleman. It may not be the same connection you have with your girlfriend, but there is something there, the gift of what you gave each other. And I love that. That's so fantastic.
In the moment, it's like people have to understand it. It's so wonderful to have your outer world validate your inner world, and you just keep it going. I wrote something down here when we were talking about making this real. When you were talking there, one of the favorite things the way I approach an issue or a problem that needs solving, is whether it's in person or I'm on the phone. I'll simply, the first thing in my mouth is, "Hi, I hope you're having an awesome day," and I'll give them a chance to respond, and then I'll say, "I'm wondering if you could help me do something," and then I tell them, I explain the situation that happened, right? But the first thing I do is I grace them with some love. I hope you're having an amazing day today, and because I really want them to feel the love. And then what I'm asking them is for a favor. I'm hoping you can help me out with this, right? I got this. It was the wrong thing. Can we work around this? Can we do whatever? And people, it's amazing because the people you're dealing with have more latitude than you think they have. And we live in a consumer-based society, so this happens a lot. It happens a lot that the right thing doesn't come through, or they run out of something, or whatever it may be. Right? You go into the grocery store, and the butter you want is BOGO'd, buy one get one free, and they're out. So what do? I take a picture of the tag and take it to the customer service window, and I get 8 tickets for 8 butters at that price.
Great.
You do that. People understand that these stores really want your business, and they respect you, and they want you to be happy. So when the price is I thought that price was $3, and they go, "Oh yeah, we'll give it to you for $3, no problem." You don't want to make it a situation where you're doing with every grocery you have in your bag. But there are times when you see something, it's not a tag. Instead of sending somebody back to check the price and waste everybody's time, a lot of these grocery stores will simply say, "Yeah, okay, that sounds about right. We'll give it to you for $3." And you're gone, right? And so if you approach it, that's how I approach. It's a firm example of how I approach absolutely everything. I wish them and all. I hope that they have. I care about them. It's not about me, and this is really the point. If I need something, I want them to know that I'm not just calling because it's all about me. It really, I do wish them sincerely an awesome day.
I know you are sincere.
Yeah, yeah, and you can do that, and it's not just a trick. It's not just joke. You got to do it sincerely. You got to be sincere and very calm and full of love in what you're doing, and they'll respond to you in kind, and that's really the point. And whether it's a problem or it's just somebody you're talking to off the street, same thing. Hope you're having an awesome day. You can start any conversation out with that.
Yeah, it's an easy way to speak from the voice of love in your daily life. What a great example, Michael. I love it. And truly, it's not what we're saying. It's the energy of what we bring to every situation. And that's really what speaking from the voice of love is all about. And I would invite everybody, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you who listen to us here on PRFM and make the time to join us, because I know you are taking what we share and bringing it forth into the world and creating those ripple effects. So if it were me, and I don't know, Michael, I'm going to invite everybody to commit to one conscious practice this week where you speak one intentional word of love, not only to others, but to yourself, most importantly, as Michael was saying. Self-love is so important. And as Mother Teresa would always say, kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. And let the echoes of love ripple out into your own life and then send it out into the world. And I'm so grateful. And Michael, I'll let you close out the show, but I'm truly appreciative to each and every one of you and sending you, from my heart to yours, a great big hug and lots of love.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, the conversation about love is one that is one of my favorites, which is why I do this show with you, because every conversation we have is about love in some way, shape, or form. And it's a joy, and it's a reminder for me every week. We do this show. There are things that happen to you, things that happen to me. It's called life, right? This is as someone said, this is a school. I think it was Archangel Raphael said, what is it? It's a school. It's a school. It is a school, and it's fun to think of it this way, where beings hang out, right? You make a choice to come down and come into physical form, and you decide what you're going to do, what you're going to learn. You have a mission, you have a purpose, you have maybe 3 or 4 purposes, and you have got these various tracks that you can take, possibly. You can choose whichever one feels right to you at the time. And we have to recognize that when we're on the wrong track, when things aren't going well, when everything is going, cattywampus, truncated, messed up, that it could simply be, we have to remember that we created that scenario in the first place by the choices that we've made and the perceptions that we brought to the table. We created it. And that it's up to us to go ahead and change our own reality by rethinking the perceptions that brought us to that point, how we're perceiving our own situation, ourselves. And self-care is the way we approach self-care with ourselves is a perception. It is. If we perceive ourselves in a positive way, we're going to give ourselves love and kindness, and we're going to tell ourselves we love ourselves. And we're going to treat ourselves with respect and dignity, and no judgment, no shame. And if we don't think positively about ourselves, if we do think positively about ourselves, the antithesis of that, then we are going to treat ourselves with loving kindness and respect. That doesn't mean going out and buying a bunch of clothes for ourselves. It might, if that's your thing. But it doesn't mean that we have to go out and spend money on ourselves. We just have to simply say, what brings me joy? What am I excited about? What puts a smile on my face? I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to do a lot of that because I care about me. Okay? So for all of you out there in our PRNFM world, and those of you listening on our podcast, Connect to Love, be mindful this week of love. And whether you're engaging in love, whether you're making love the foundation of every single day and every single moment that you can. And remember, especially in those challenging times, to make love the purpose behind everything you do. That's my message.
Fantastic. Love, 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 love. And then peace out. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care.